Hello everybody, this is Dario. Welcome back to my channel Motley Reads. Today I'm going to do a tag, the I want to believe tag. The reason why I'm doing this tag is because I like doing tags. It is not in any way connected with the X-Files that I actually haven't seen. I might have seen some single episode here or there when it was on the television, but I really missed the X-Files. So yeah, it might sound strange, but that's what it is. Nevertheless, like Jason, I also had a crush on Scully like everybody else, although I didn't see the X-File series. Anyways, I'm doing a tag because I like doing tags. Now my iPad, where I usually have these questions, I run out of battery, so I have my laptop on the side here. So this is, it has a pretty strong light here. I will try to reduce it so that I don't get this strange. Yeah, okay, now it looks better. Okay, good. So I'll be doing this tag, and this tag is originally created by Rajaton. It is, in my opinion, it's a pretty difficult tag, pretty difficult tag, and that's what made it fun. So I will now go through the questions. So let's see how it goes. So if I start with the first prompt, first pilot, a great beginning to a series or trilogy. I don't think that I need to comment anything about this, really. Prompt number 2. Squeeze. Toombs was my favorite monster in the series. What is your favorite monster in the book? I struggled a bit with this question because I didn't come across lots of monsters in the books that I would consider being my favorite or likable characters. There is actually the one character that actually you don't like him, but you kind of admire him in a fear. I already talked about this one previously on my channel. I mentioned it. It's Dracula by Bram Stoker. I don't think that he needs an introduction at all, but it is really a scary and a fascinating character. Prompt number 3, the ErlenMeyer Flask, the one where they find the baby alien. What is the best sci-fi you have ever read? Now, I haven't been reading a lot of sci-fi, to be honest. I've been reading a decent amount of sci-fi, but it's not my favorite genre. Still, I do have a book series that I consider as one of my all-time, all-category favorites, and that's the Foundation series by Isaac Asimov. Here they are the part that is called the Trilogy. Actually, there are 7 books. There is this trilogy that is Foundation and Empire, and the Victorious Foundation. I think it's called in English, and then subsequently, I think the 4 other books came, the two sequels and 2 preludes to this series here, and it's series about the galactic empire's rise and fall. Fantastic book. I really enjoyed reading this, and I usually don't do rereads, but this is one of them that I actually did reread and enjoyed it every time. So prompt number 4, Clyde Bruckman's final Repose. This is the only episode that won an Emmy. What is your favorite book? This is one of those very difficult questions. I saw some people on YouTube who are doing these prompt, giving the straight answers. Jason did Foucault's pendulum. I realized that this is, his favorite book, and I really need to read that book. I realized, and to me, favorite book, it was something that I really couldn't pinpoint what that would be. There are favorite books in different periods, and in these periods can be, short. It can be like, okay, right now this book is something great, but then it disappears somewhere. And what characterizes really, really great books for me are the books that are aging well, and that I'm kind of remembering and loving for a long periods of time. And these books, they are following me through period of 5-10 years, where I basically look back to them in lots of different contexts, recommending to people, and they give me this cozy feeling. One of these books, for like 20 years ago, it was The Name of the Rose by Umberto Eco, for instance. Right now, the book that I consider as being my favorite book, that I'm recommending to everybody and thinking very, very often about, is this book. It's Augustus by John Williams. John Williams, he wrote The Butcher's Crossing and Stoner, which are two excellent novels. But this one, to me, is his masterpiece. It is written in a way that I really didn't expect that I will like. It is a book about the life of Emperor Augustus, and it is written in form of letters that were sent between his contemporaries, where you are through a series of letters that people are sending to each other, following Augustus throughout his life. And you get to know lots of characters. It's historically very accurate book, and it gives you fantastic feeling about the time, and about the man, and about the people that was surrounding him. A brilliantly executed book. I warmly recommend it right now. And I read this book 5 years ago as a vacation read. I just and throughout this last 5 years, coming back to it time after time. Fantastic book. Let's see, now the prompt number 5. What's the funniest book you have read? Here again, I don't read many books that I consider as funny, because I often see books that are marketing themselves as funny being really silly, and I'm not into silly stuff. I can get annoyed. I do like some type of silly stuff. It has to be English silly stuff, some of it at least. So I have some really hard thinking to do, but I kind of concluded with one book that actually I liked a lot, and that I laughed a lot when I read it, and I remember it as a one comic novel. Is this one, Decline and Fall by Evelyn Waugh. I really like Evelyn Waugh as a writer. He was great. Most of people know him by his most known book, Brideshead Revisited, which is a classic in the genre. This one is a comic novel. It's really great. It is about this lost guy that was kicked out from Oxford, and that he moves to a position as a schoolmaster, as obscure place out on the countryside, and there he meets lots of quite interesting characters that are basically following him throughout this book, and these guys are described here as a assortment of misfits, rascals, and fools. Funny characters. The book is written in a very funny way, and it's also this edition of Penguin Modern Classics is also illustrated by a writer himself. So Decline and Fall by Evelyn Waugh. This is the funny one. Okay, let's go to the next prompt. Number 6, Home. This episode was very disturbing and was never re-aired on TV. What is the most disturbing thing you have ever read. I haven't been reading a lots of disturbing things, really the stuff that really made me be either disgust or afraid but there is one particular book that that immediately popped up in my mind, and even if after rethinking about the different perspectives of this question, I get back to this book. It's American Psycho by Bret Easton Ellis. This book, I think that all of you know the book, and most of people have read it because it was really very popular book to be read when it was published. I think it came out some in early 90s, 1991. It was also a film that is much worse. Actually, it's not as good as a book, but this one is very disturbing read. So yeah. Next question, number 7. Post-Modern Prometheus. This is a black and white Frankenstein style episode. What is your favorite classic book? And here I was thinking about the classic book in quite wide palette of books, basically anything written up until the period where Penguin Modern Classic series start, and that's basically early 1900s. So until the end of 1800s, I'm not thinking about the classical periodism or Greece or Rome. If you would ask me for that, I would say that it's work by Tacitus, Germania. But in general, throughout this whole period until end of 1800s, it is by the end of 1800s actually by Tolstoy, Anna Karenina. I really like this book. It is a great story. It is a love story and a social drama. It is it paints quite captivating picture of the imperial Russia that period of time, and it's following the character Anna Karenina and the people that are surrounding her lover and her family and the other people around her. It is the life of societe in Moscow and St. Petersburg during that time, written in a time period that it portrays. It gives a really good feel of Russia back then. So this is my favorite from that time period. Now, number 8, Bad Blood. In this episode, Mulder kills a vampire, or he thinks he does, and then tells the story all in flashbacks. What is your favorite way they use flashbacks to tell a story? I'm not really big fan of flashbacks. I would say, I would say I don't like flashbacks at all. It seems sometimes like when you listen to a song and you like really a melody, and then all of a sudden they break it into kind of a different melody as an intermediary before they get back to the real melody of the song. That's how I feel about flashbacks. It's like, just take away this thing. Why do we have it here? So the only context that I like flashbacks is when the whole book is written in a flashback. So there is kind of somebody is telling a story, and then they are looking back, and then like 80% of the book is in a flashback, really. And then when I think about I don't know if that can be characterized as a flashback, but that is how I interpret this question. So when I think about that interpretation of flashbacks, then there is one particular book where it's actually in 2 parts. It's a graphic novel, Mouse, by Art Spiegelman. First part is My Father Bleeds History, and second, Here My Troubles Begin. It is a Holocaust story. This graphic novel, it was one of the most poignant reading experiences of my life. It tells the story of a writer's father who is telling the story of how he survived the Holocaust, basically. quite disturbing read, really, and a very important read to get back to make sure that we always remember what happened back then. So this is my choice on the flashbacks. Prompt number 9, Drive. A man jumps into Mulder's cart and they speed through the entire episode. What book have you read that is a non-stop ride? Now, I've read many books that you basically, open and just, go through them. Typically, these books, at least for me, would be, shorter books, like 120 to 180 to 200 pages, somewhere like that. Different types of themes. You just go through that. I call them my small gems or candy bars. But then there are these books, and I don't often come across them. The thick chunksters that you read in one swoop. And there is one particular book that I always coming back to when I think about this aspect of the thick books that you read really fast, that you like, and that I thought about immediately when I saw this question is this one. By Tom Wolfe, The Bonfire of the Vanities. It's a 80s classic about all this yuppie period, and I'm sure that many of you have come across this book, at least those of you that live in the US. It's about this white guy that does hit a run with a car in I think it's in Bronx, yes, and then the chase on him starts by prosecutors, journalists, police, and everybody. And it's very fast-paced story. It's a kind of a satire from that time, 80s in New York. That unfortunately many of these things are actually coming back nowadays. So this would be one of these fast-paced reads that I would think of. Prompt number 10. This episode, a book becomes reality when the author writes it. What's a book setting you would never want to go to? This one. This dystopic world of Cormac McCarthy, The Road. I know that there are, many people love it, and then there are some people. I'm thinking about especially one booktuber that really hates it. You call it, I think, a Dubro literature, if I remember right. But this, to me, this was a good book. To me, I really enjoyed it in a way. It was a disturbing read as well, and the world that is portraited here, that's the world that I really hope that we will never come close to, and I would never like to be in. Dystopia in The Road is terrible. So that was these 10 questions, and then we have a bonus question. I hope the smoking man is in this one. What is your favorite side character in a book? Now, the side character thing, it's also something that I need to think long and hard about. And, side character, I don't remember side characters in books that I really like, that I would say they're my favorites, that I felt anything about. And that is, classic side characters, like, somebody was talking about, Dr. Watson and so on. But then I remember, and this book, unfortunately, I don't think is translated into English. This is in Swedish. A book by Per-Olof Sundman. It's called Ingeniör Andrés luftfärd, and they also made a movie about it. I think that the name of the movie is The Last Flight of the Eagle. I don't remember. It's about an Arctic balloon expedition in I think it's 1897 that was done. So this is a true story. It's a Swedish explorer, Solomon André, decided to take a balloon tour to the North Pole. And this expedition failed miserably quite early during the tour, and the balloon crashed, and all three all three travelers, Mr. Andre, Mr. Strindberg, and Mr. Frankel, all of them survived the crash, and then they attempted to walk back to civilization or any place where they could get rescued over ice. They never succeeded, and they were fined many decades later. So this book is a documentary novel. It is written from the perspective of one of the guys in expedition, Mr. Frankel, Knut Frankel, and he is the only of these three guys who didn't keep records. So they don't have any. The other two guys, the main guy Andre, and the second guy Niels Strindberg, they had their diaries, and you could follow through everything that was happening. They were recording everything, but the Frankel didn't do that. So the writer Per-Olof Sundman is writing this book from Frankel's perspective. Extremely well researched book. It is very terrifying read. You get lots of sympathy for the guy, the Solomon Andre, but you get also lots of sympathy for the side character, the narrator himself. So narrator himself is a side character. He is present, of course, all the time there, but you really have a feeling of Andre being a main character here. So I would say that Knut Frankel in Ingenieur André's Luftfärd or The Last Flight of the Eagle, that would be my pick for this. So we are through the tag. I hope you found some of the books that I talked about here interesting. In that case, please let me know what you think. And before we close this session here, I would like to tag people to do this, and I would like to tag two booktubers. One of them is Mark Richardson of Richardson Reads. I would really like to see you, Mark, doing this one. And the second one is Mel of Mel's Bookland Adventures. Really curious, Mel, how you would your take on this one. So until then, thank you for watching. Bye.